What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Series 12 rental code video. You know what that means. It must be the 1st of March, and when you have the 1st of every month, you know I already have pre-planned a bunch of rental codes for you to try to get you guys back into MasterBall tiers. So if you were using the February rental codes, those are gone. This time around, I tried to challenge myself a little bit. I tried to make some of the B tier restricted mons work on what should be a viable, consistent team. So these are going to be a little bit harder to use than the ones in February, but they're still very, very strong. And when you make them work and when you win with them, it's just a little bit more satisfying, right? So without further ado, let's just go ahead and go straight into the first rental code. Alright, our first rental code is a Reshiram team, and this is the Reshiram Zacian team that we built in the team building video a couple weeks ago. And if you're interested in knowing what the EV spreads are calced for, be sure to check out that video. But we will go over the EV spreads also this time around, just a little bit, a quick rundown. But here's the rental code first. So the idea here is, you know, Reshiram looks relatively solid on paper just because it can deal well against Zacian. It resists its Behemoth Blade, and it's still neutral to its play rough, but you're gonna need to support it for everything else, right? So, you know, and also Reshiram does take Kyogre damage relatively well, so you have some of that going. But how do you go from here? So I decided to pair it with Zacian and Grimmsnarl. So when you have Grimmsnarl, you're able to set up your screens and then just make Reshiram and both Zacian relatively bulky, and then you have a Fairy stat move, which is great against those annoying Palkias and you know, Yveltals, both of which can give Reshiram a little bit of trouble here. And then you have Zacian, which can very much appreciate the bulk, and then Thunder Wave for extra speed control. And then to round out the rest of the team, Blastoise is a very strong Dynamax option on this team, and Blastoise Grimmsnarl has always been a core for Zacian team. So, and it's also strong this time around. So what you can do is you can Dynamax your Blastoise, go for a bunch of damage, G-Max Cannonade, chip over time, and then Zacian can come in the back and finish the game and just one-shot everything with Behemoth Blade. And then for our Blastoise set, we are running Yawn, so this way we can sleep things, you know, just to punish those early Dynamaxes. Then we can go for Helping Hand plays, so we can make Zacian do a little bit more damage, and then Reshiram also do a little bit more damage. And if you're adding Helping Hand to a Life Orb Reshiram, that's just Reshiram is just gonna hit even more like an absolute behemoth of a truck. And then you also have Icy Wind for speed control, just so that you can have a little bit more utility outside of Dynamax. And then Rillaboom, really good against an opposing Kyogre team, especially against those Kyogre Seismitoad teams, where Rillaboom can really punish the opponent if they bring both options especially. You also have Fake Out, you have Knockoff for the Calyrex Shadow matchup, and then U-turn, so that way you can pivot out in case you're getting an incoming Incineroar, Flare Blitz, or just a Fire or an Airstream just in general. So this way, you know, Rillaboom can at least safely get out of there. Also really good against Indeedee, in case you need to pick up that key knockout in the first turn. And then finally, to round things off, you have the Landorus with the Lumberry, so you get Intimidate on the team. And then really good against those Sun teams, just because Venusaur and even Amoonguss, they can't really sleep you on that first turn, and then you can just hit him hard with the Airstream, and then potentially just set up your Swords Dance. And Landorus behind Grimmsnarl screens becomes a really strong Dynamax option if you're able to set up that Swords Dance. So that's our first rental code. Let's take a look at the Pokepaste just to see what we were doing in terms of our EV spreads. Okay, so here's the EV spreads and the Pokepaste for our Reshiram Zacian team. So, you know, with Reshiram, again, you have your Fire Stab, your Max Flare, your Max Dragon, just to reduce other attacks. Physical attackers, I should say. Then Max Quake Boost is really nice. Your speed is meant to just outspeed Regieleki after 2 Airstreams from your Landorus. And then you're just hitting really hard with Max Special Attack. And then your HP is for Life Orb Optimization. Zacian speed is just to outspeed Regieleki after a +1 Airstream or a -1 from, you know, Icy Wind. And then you're at the second bump with the Adamant Nature, but you have 1 extra attack EV, and then you have a little bit more HP for our extra bulk, because we are an Adamant Bulkization, 191 HP stat just for our optimal weather damage HP number. Grimmsnarl, so this Grimmsnarl set I believe it's Joe's. It's meant to survive Behemoth Blade after Intimidate with Reflect Up. So that's the main calc there. And then you're just Careful Nature second bump, and with just a little bit of speed just to outspeed those Grimmsnarls with no speed, and then just the rest in HP. Blastoise, same idea. You're meant to outspeed those 112 Mons. So after an Airstream, you can outspeed base 100s. And then just optimize HP for weather damage, 175 HP stat, just in case, from your own max Hailstorm or Sand Chip over time, your HP is optimized for that. And then the rest just went into Modest Nature. 196 was the bump, but then you had leftover EVs, so you just added extra more special attack EVs into the Blastoise set. Rillaboom, again, Adamant Natured, max attack, 132 HP for optimized Grassy Terrain Recovery, just to get that 192 HP stat, because 192 divided by 12 is 16. I should say the other way around. 192 divided by 16 is 12. And then just 68 speed, again, just to outspeed your base 100, 112 speed creepers, just so that, you outspeed 113s, 114s overall. And then the Landorus, you can't see it here, but it is max speed, 252 Jolly, with, again, a little bit more HP just to handle the Hailstorm damage. Over time, your attack is a little bit weaker, but that's okay. You have Swords Dance, you have the Lumberry, you're able to set it up. You can hide behind your screens, so you can soak up some damage, go for that Swords Dance, and then just be able to go for that max Airstream late game if you need to. All right, so the main idea here with the core is you have a Dragon Fairy Steel, Fire, Water, Grass core, so you're able to go for those defensive pivots. Your two big max options is Blastoise, Reshiram, and also even the Landorus. The Landorus more so comes into the Sun games, but other than that, you're maxing Blastoise most of the time, especially also Reshiram. In those non-Sun games, those are your two main Dynamax options. You can even lead Zacian, Grimmsnarl just to have your screen support, have Zacian deal a bunch of damage early, and then have either Landorus, Reshiram, or Blastoise be a late game option. And then Rillaboom is just there, just in case you're having a hard time with Gastrodon or Seismitoad games, so Rillaboom can come into those matchups. All right, so a very balanced team. Reshiram is a cool restricted. I think it's okay also with Groudon. I think it might even be a little bit better with a Groudon team, but I think it's very well suitable on a Zacian Blastoise team like this, especially with Grimmsnarl screen. So let's go on to the next rental code. The next one is Solgaleo. So Solgaleo this time, you know how I love Solgaleo. It was the big Clover team back in February when you had the Tailwind mode with Kyogre, Water Spout shenanigans, along with Brutal Swing proccing the weakness policy. But this time, we're going for a more slower controlled Solgaleo team, but we have no weakness policy this time. We are going with a Life Orb Solgaleo, comboed with Yveltal team. So the main combo here is, Solgaleo doesn't really like Calyrex Shadow Rider, so it would help if you had a restricted that can hard counter Calyrex Shadow Rider, and you do. Now you have the Assault Vest Yveltal on the team, and then you can just go bulky with the Grimmsnarl. Same kind of Grimmsnarl set. Again, Light Screen Reflect, Spirit Break, Thunder Wave for speed control. You can make your Solgaleo extra bulky, and then just go for that immediate damage because you have the Life Orb. So pressure turn 1 with hard hitting Max Steel Spikes, hard hitting Max Quakes, and now this time you have your Max Rockfall for extra bit of damage against flying type Mons. And normally I would go with that Wild Charge Max Lightning, Clover Tech, but we're not doing that this time. That the whole purpose with that one was to deny sleep, but we have other ways to deny sleep on the team. We have Tapu Fini, Calm Mind. I very seldomly lose Tapu Fini, but here we are in Series 12. We're back to using Tapu Fini. So the reason why Fini works on this kind of team is imagine the Calm Mind Kyogre Solgaleo kind of team, and Tapu Fini fills that role relatively well. So what you can do is have Tapu Fini next to Solgaleo, Dynamax to Solgaleo, and start boosting your Fini with Max Steel Spikes, Max Quakes, so this way the Fini doesn't die, or it's very, very hard to kill Fini. And then you're going for late game Calm Minds, you're alternating Protects, you're getting recovery over time, and meanwhile you're boosting your defenses, and then you're starting to hit really, really hard because also you are Modest Nature Tapu Fini. Really good against Palkia, which, Yveltal or even Solgaleo don't want to deal with, and really good just against other potential dragon restricteds that you might run into. And Fini just does really well also in Kyogre teams because, Finny enjoys the rain. So really, really good here. And then Incineroar, you now have something for Intimidate, and you have Fake Out Pressure, something for the Zacian matchup. Sash Regieleki is also really good against Calyrex Shadow Rider just to get some speed control on it. So this way your Yveltal and your Solgaleo can outspeed it. Okay, so that's overall, that's our squad. It's a very solid Solgaleo Yveltal team. Let's take a look at the Pokepaste and see what the EVs are. So here's the Pokepaste showing our EV spreads. This is a very standard Assault Vest Yveltal team. Max speed, modest, first EV bump there, and then just a little bit of tiny special defense just to get an even number. So this way you maximize the number that you get with the Assault Vest, because if you don't, then you get an odd number, and then it's 0.5, and then it rounds down, and we don't want that, right? So we always want an even number in our special defense when we have an Assault Vest. Then we have the rest just dumped into HP just to optimize max Hailstorm, max hail damage. Also with the Sand Chip, same idea. Solgaleo this time, normally we run it Adamant and also relatively fast to outspeed Regieleki with Tailwind, but we have to go with a different build this time. So the main thing here is you have enough HP where you optimize your Life Orb chip, you're fast enough where you outspeed Jolly Landorus, and then the rest just goes into your attack. So you hit harder, you pressure immediately, you have a little bit less bulk than your Adamant, bulkier, slower Solgaleo, but still, you know, you have enough where you can deal enough damage, and then your bulk doesn't really matter so much. Your Finny spread, you're just at 113, so you're meant to just outspeed base 100s after an Airstream or an Electro Web from your Regieleki. And again, the rest just goes into your HP to optimize your leftovers recovery, and then you hit the third bump with the 196 special attack mark for Modest Nature. The Grimmsnarl spread is our same Grimmsnarl spread as the other one. So again, you live the Behemoth Blade after Reflect and Intimidate, and then the Regieleki is Sash, you know, 252, 252, nothing really to say there. But yeah, I think it's an overall solid team. You have answers for Zacian, you have answers for Kyogre, you can deal even with Palkia, even with Dialga, thanks to Yveltal on the team. And then, of course, Yveltal just hard answers Calyrex Shadow Rider. And then with Solgaleo, you have a dominant Steel type that can handle Zacian for the most part. You can even handle Kyurem White. That's popping up a little bit more now just because it won that tournament. And then, of course, Grimmsnarl just makes the whole team bulkier behind screen support. And then you have Thunder Wave for extra speed control. And also, again, the main idea here with the Tapu Fini, you're trying to go for that end game option where you're just setting up Calm Minds and then just sitting behind your Solgaleo's max Quake to max Steel Spikes, and then you just become a really, really nice late game option. So enough about this team. So there it is. Give it a go. Now let's move on to our third rental code. The third rental is a Zacian Rayquaza team. So Rayquaza finally has relevance in VGC in Series 12 because we have a second restricted that we call Zacian that can be paired with it. So again, a really, really nice combo because, you know, Zacian doesn't really like fire attacks, doesn't really like ground attacks. You can pivot out into Rayquaza because it's a dragon flying type. It can resist those attacks. And Rayquaza doesn't really like ice type attacks at all, or even rock type attacks. So you can pivot out into your Zacian, which is a steel type, and it takes those attacks relatively well. So it's a very, very nice combo between the two. And we are a special Rayquaza this time around. So, you know, we don't have to get Intimidate cycled by Incineroar or Landorus. We have a very strong max Airstream. We have strong max Dragon. We have strong max Quakes. And with the Life Orb, Rayquaza at base 150 special attack does insane damage. And what's really nice here to combo with these two guys is just support from the rest of the team. You have the Amoonguss just to give us something for the Trick Room matchup. You have Incineroar, you know, Intimidate, Fake Out Pressure. It's on pretty much every competitive VGC team. Gives you an answer to Zacian, gives you an answer to both Calyrexes, and even Groudon to a degree. Regieleki, Sash, again, extra speed control, especially against Calyrex Shadow Rider. We need to outspeed it. Blastoise is back yet again. So the thing with Blastoise, it's the same kind of Blastoise that we had in the first team with our Reshiram squad. If you can go for Helping Hand to your Dynamax Rayquaza, really, really, really strong. I don't know too many things I want to switch into a Helping Hand Max Airstream from Rayquaza or even Max Dragon Icy Wind for extra speed control. Again, I love Icy Wind on Blastoise. Yawn to punish those early Dynamaxes. And then you can even Dynamax the Blastoise yourself. Go for those G-Max Cannonades, deal a bunch of damage, chip things over time. And then Zacian and Regieleki can just clean up from the back. Alright, and then the Amoonguss, you know, again, like I said, it's for that Trick Room matchup. Giga Drain, just in case we need it. For those annoying Gastrodons and Seismitoads, if we have to use it or if we have to bring it. But Rayquaza is really good at shutting down weather, you know, so stuff that Venusaur and Charizard appreciate, Rayquaza says no. Same with Kyogre's Rain, and you can still click Hurricane in Kyogre's Rain even though it's not physically active, so that's the cool part about Rayquaza here. So now let's just take a look at the EV spreads / Pokepaste. Alright, and here's the pace here. So this is one of the few times where I will break my rule and not optimize the Life Orb damage for Rayquaza. I think it's just safe to go 252, 252 this time around. I very rarely do it, but I'm doing it this time. The Zacian spread is the same as our first team. It's pretty much the same Zacian that we've been using throughout. You're meant to outspeed opposing Regieleki after a +1 or a -1 from the Icy Wind, Electro, or the Electro Web. The Incin, a little bit more bulkier now. You know, second EV bump in the Careful Natured. You have enough defense where you can survive the Zacian close combat after a -1 Intimidate drop. Blastoise is the same as the first one. Again, optimize HP for the weather damage and enough speed to outspeed those base 100 speed creepers after an Airstream or a -1. And then the Amoonguss is optimized here, just you know, 236 HP for the Regenerator recovery. You have the second EV bump in the Relaxed Defense Nature, and then the rest just gets dumped in Special Defense. So very standard Zacian Rayquaza team. It's solid for what it's supposed to do. Again, Rayquaza's a B tier restricted. I like to say it's not quite up there with like things like Calyrex or Kyogre, but still very nice to use. And it's cool when you shut down weather teams, right? So that's our team for Zacian Rayquaza. Now let's go into the fourth and final rental code of our video. So the fourth and final rental code for this video is a Dialga Kyogre team. So this is I would like to say the big one for March as far as what I like to use. But we have one slot available, and I'll be saving that just to, you know, I'll keep that one a secret, but you'll see it at some point. But that's another time. For this team, so Dialga is really strong in this format. Again, with the Life Orb, you're able to put on a lot of pressure, and here I decided to combo it not only with Grimmsnarl but also the Amoonguss. So here you can go for redirection with your Rage Powder and then set up your Trick Room, which is what Dialga is running this time around. So the whole team is meant to be played slowly, because if you can lead Dialga, Amoonguss, go for Trick Room, and then Dialga just goes for a bunch of damage because we're slow and we're bulky and we hit hard. And then this time we're not Telepathy. We have no Landers here. We are Pressure, so now we can stall moves out if we need to, but also we can click Pollen Puff from our Amoonguss and heal our Dialga if we ever need to. Grimmsnarl is back yet again. Dialga Grim is always a strong combo no matter the format. You click screens, Dialga enjoys it. Spirit Break and Thunder Wave really good against Yveltal. Really good against Palkia. So both things that Dialga can have trouble with, but because you have the Grimmsnarl, you have some alleviation over there. The Incineroar is back yet again because Incineroar is Incineroar. No need to say anything about this thing. And then the Kyogre is a Calm Mind Kyogre. So imagine the Solgaleo Yveltal team that we had with the Tapu Fini Calm Mind. The same concept applies here. You're trying for that end game option where, you know, you can boost up your Kyogre with max Steel Spikes, max Quakes from your Dialga, and now your Kyogre is even bulkier. And when you go for Calm Minds, now you hit even harder with Origin Pulses and Ice Beams. And then you can even potentially Dynamax the Kyogre, you know, maybe even lead Amoonguss Kyogre, set up your redirection, go for Calm Minds, and then maybe even get up a second Calm Mind. And then Kyogre becomes a very strong Dynamax option. And then the Thundurus is on the team, not to just discourage Incineroar or Intimidate threats to begin with, which is really good against Landers, by the way. But the main thing is you need something to hit Yveltal hard with, because Dialga and Kyogre, they struggle against Yveltal, and Grimmsnarl is just not enough. It's going to need some help, and Thundurus is the answer here. So with Wild Charge, Fly, and Brick Break, you're able to go for those max lightnings, which Yveltal doesn't like, airstreams to give yourself some speed control, and now you can make your Kyogre even faster now. The same thing with your Dialga, but what I really like with having Thundurus here is you're able to go for max darkness. So now, you know, even though your Dialga and Kyogre are not Dynamax, if you can get those max darkness special defense drops, Kyogre really punishes teams with -1 special defenses with Origin Pulses. Same thing with Dialga, who already has a Life Orb, who already hits very hard. If you're going for Flash Cannons into things with -1 special defenses with your Life Orb, things just drop. All right, there's nothing I can say. Things just drop. And then again, with your Dialga Amoonguss combo, you can just set up Trick Room, go for Spores, sleep everything, and hit everything really hard. And if your opponent can't answer the Amoonguss, then Dialga and Kyogre can just dominate from there. But yeah, that's the whole point of the team. You're meant to be played slowly. You're meant to boost up your Kyogre, and then Kyogre just becomes a really strong late game option. So now let's just take a look at the spreads to see what we did with our EVs. So nothing needs to be said with our Incineroar and our Grimmsnarl. Again, it's the same kind of Incineroar and Grimmsnarl that we've been using throughout our rentals. Same thing with our Amoonguss. The main thing with our Kyogre here is, again, you have enough speed to outspeed base 100s. Speed creepers after a Thunderous Airstream. You hit the second EV bump with the Modest Nature, so this way you deal at least some respectable good damage even if you can't get your Calm Mind boost. You have 132 HP to give you that 192 HP stat to optimize your leftovers recovery, and the rest just gets dumped in your defense. So after Intimidates, you know, you can take those Rillaboom Grassy Glides fine, and then same thing with Zacian, Play Roughs, or Sacred Swords. The Thundurus is just max speed, you know, jolly, and then with a little bit of bulk. So this way, you know, you can take those Rock Balls or those Rock Slides from Groudon a little bit better. Dialga, same thing. You know, you're a little bit slower than Kyogre, so this way Kyogre goes first, can go for those, you know, Origin Pulses, and then Dialga can just clean up with, you know, Flash Cannons or Earth Powers. But the main thing here with the EVs is 112. Again, paired with Thundurus, you can outspeed base 100s. After an Airstream boost, the rest just gets dumped into your special attack set because you're modest, but you also have optimized HP with the Life Orb chip, and then the rest just gets dumped into defense and special defenses. And I tried to go for even numbers just so that you get a little bit more bang for your buck when you're going for your max Steel Spikes and your max Quakes. So that's our Dialga team. So all 4 rentals are available now. You can use them. You can take them on ladder. You can use them to get back to Master Ball or even progress further than that. I have 1 slot available, but I am saving that for a 5th rental that I will use another time within the format. And what I want to say with this is, you know, these teams, I think I'll make them available for at least 2.5 weeks. So this way I can start cycle them out and then start using other teams for the second half of the month. Just because I have some ideas that I want to try out, but I can't do that if I have my slots filled. I have some people making teams for me just because they're very generous to loan their slots because I'm out of slots. So yeah, you'll see some of those rentals soon on the channel. They're made by me, but someone else made the rental code for me just because I ran out of slots. Last thing is, again, if you're interested in team fixing or team building, that's a tier 2 sub on the channel tier, and it's also a tier 3 where you and we can sit on a Discord call and fix your team or build a team from scratch. And you can just click the join button on the channel. It's very cheap, very affordable. I think tier 2 is just $5. Tier 3 is just $9.99. So it's in your best interest. I can help you make your squad a little bit better, so this way you can also get back into Master Ball and climb the Master Ball tier as well. So if you like these rentals, let me know which one you try. Let me know which one you like, which ones you don't like. All right, and leave a comment below. Hit that like and hit that subscribe button. It very much helps me a lot. So hopefully you guys like the next few rentals that we have for March. So until then, guys, enjoy. Have a good one.